Democracy in Europe is facing many challenges. More and more people are feeling increasingly disconnected from politics, believing that their voices carry little weight. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated divisions within the society. We need to make progress to put citizens at the heart of decision-making. But how can we engage these citizens? To re-engage citizens, we introduce a new multi-level citizens' jury model. Citizens' juries are like small groups where people discuss important topics to make recommendations to decision-makers. People chosen for these groups are randomly picked from the population. They spend a few days thinking about the issues, listening to experts, and sharing their opinions. Then, they formulate recommendations themselves and vote on what they think should happen. Their recommendations are written up in a report and given to politicians to consider when making decisions about public policy. REGROUP brought together 100 citizens from 5 countries for a special project. They spent a total of 12 days discussing how the pandemic has affected them and how to solve related issues. The project aims to create a space where citizens, experts, and decision-makers can learn from each other. In the REGROUP Citizens Jury multi-level model, participants from each country first discuss and make recommendations for their own government. Then, 4 people from each country's group come together in Brussels to discuss what the European Union should learn from the pandemic. This transnational mini-public involves a total of 20 citizens. The project covers 4 main themes related to the pandemic: disinformation, political trust, how scientific information is shared, and the role of non-elected experts in making political decisions.
We are here today to organize the first transnational citizens jury on trust and disinformation after the pandemic. After participants met at the national level across 5 countries, we selected 4 participants per country to come to Brussels to debate and discuss and formulate policy recommendations for the European Commission. It is quite fascinating to see so many citizens discussing in their native languages with interpreters and sharing their experiences, because it's clear that these people have a lot to share. We are convinced here in REGROUP, in the project, that these policy recommendations will be sharp, evidence-based, and can be taken into consideration to improve policy in the future.
During the pandemic, the problem of online disinformation has become increasingly widespread. Fake news spread rapidly across social media platforms and other online channels, making it difficult for people to distinguish between what is true and what is not. This can lead to confusion, panic, distrust, and even harm if people act on inaccurate information. Disinformation about the virus itself, its origins, treatments, and preventative measures, as well as misinformation about vaccines, have all contributed to undermining public trust towards science and governments, thereby exacerbating the impact of the pandemic. Non-elected experts played a crucial role in providing valuable insights and guidance on various issues during the pandemic. These experts, who are often professionals with specialized knowledge and experience in fields such as medicine, science, public health, and economics, offer evidence-based recommendations and advice to policymakers, and also play an important role in informing the public. Their expertise helped in formulating effective strategies and policies such as social distancing, curfews, and lockdowns to address the dangers and uncertainties linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, some argued that there might be conflicts of interests, and that full transparency and accountability must be provided to the public in order to provide some clarity on how these experts are selected or the exact role they play in the decision-making process, for instance. During the COVID-19 pandemic, scientific communication to the public faced many challenges, with all the variants, which lead to frequent updates that confused people. Scientific concepts were often complex and difficult to understand, which sometimes resulted in misunderstandings or misinformation. Communication barriers, such as technical language and cultural differences, made effective communication challenging. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to a decrease in political trust through various means. The handling of the pandemic differed among governments, causing perceptions of inconsistency and incompetence. This inconsistency, along with mixed messaging and policy reversals, undermined confidence in political leadership.
Also es war eine interessante Erfahrung, zu sehen, wie so ein Entscheidungsprozess abläuft.
È stato molto interessante e confrontarsi su questi temi così importanti e urgenti è qualcosa di fondamentale per il nostro tempo, per capire quali sono le questioni che si possono affrontare in modo civile, democratico, con pazienza e con tolleranza soprattutto.
Ja, ik vond het super bijzonder en interessant om mee te doen aan een burgerjury en best wel empowering om mee te denken.
Ça m'a permis d'échanger avec d'autres pays et d'avoir un esprit plus ouvert.
Mi è piaciuto molto e mi ha colpito particolarmente l'accordo che abbiamo raggiunto.
Die Erfahrung mit den Simultanübersetzungen war natürlich was Neues und anspruchsvoll.
Bariera językowa jest też pewnym problemem, aczkolwiek translatorzy, interpretatorzy naprawdę nieźle sobie z tym poradzili. Na pewno uczy to cierpliwości, żeby nie myśleć sobie, że ty wiesz najlepiej i zaraz się wypowiesz, tylko jednak poczekać, posłuchać, co ktoś inny ma do powiedzenia. To było bardzo spoko doświadczenie w tym zakresie.
Ich war sehr positiv davon überrascht, dass dieser internationale Aspekt eigentlich gar kein Problem dargestellt hat. Also ganz im Gegenteil, ich fand das für mich selber sehr belebend. Ich fand, das hat auch die Diskussion extrem belebt. Und dank der technischen Möglichkeiten, die wir hier zur Verfügung gestellt bekommen haben, war auch die Sprachbarriere überhaupt gar kein Problem.
Déjà pour ma part, je suis française et je parle pas anglais, donc évidemment la question des communications entre chaque personne a été légèrement compliquée, mais heureusement on a eu des traducteurs.
Iedereen moest heel even in de eerste dag ook wennen aan. Oh, je zit nu in de Europese context. Wat kan de Europese Unie? Waar zijn ze voor?
On a vu les différences entre les pays, on n'avait pas tous la même opinion. Et l'intérêt de ce mini-public transnational, ça a été de confronter les différences et d'essayer d'avoir un consensus pour les recommandations.
Perciò insomma sì, è stata un'immersione nella comunità europea che in effetti insomma non capita sempre ed è stato sicuramente organizzato nel migliore dei modi. Qui a Bruxelles è estremamente bello.
Ik heb gewoon Europa leren kennen terwijl ik maar 2 uur in de trein heb gezeten. Nou, geweldig toch?
Jeżeli chodzi o taki osobisty poziom, to na pewno nauczyło mnie to, jak wiele jest przedsięwzięć, które Unia Europejska przeprowadza, które są tak naprawdę robione, ale my o tym nie wiemy, bo jest gdzieś ten problem w dystrybuowaniu informacji, w komunikowaniu zwykłym obywatelom o tym, dlatego na pewno będzie dla mnie to taką lekcją, żeby szukać tych informacji, żeby próbować do nich dotrzeć.
Nou, ik denk eerst dat gewoon alles wat vandaag en gisteren is gebeurd nog goed verwerkt moet worden en nou ja, dat het dan wel bij de EU terechtkomt, dat hoop ik in ieder geval.
Znaczy nie, szczerze nie. W sensie chciałbym, żeby to coś zmieniło, żeby to faktycznie coś dało, aczkolwiek uważam, że no to jest na tyle mało znaczące, patrząc na całą Unię Europejską, że może to nie wyjść za bardzo, no ale Trzeba próbować.
Ja myślę, że ważny jest głos ludu i po prostu one zostaną wzięte poważnie pod uwagę.
J'espère que les recommandations que l'on a faites seront prises en compte par la Commission européenne, voire le Parlement européen. J'espère beaucoup que notre avis va être pris en compte. C'est important pour l'avenir de l'Union européenne.
Have the same catchphrase? Recommendation.
Two major conclusions that we drew from this weekend is that citizens do not have optimal access to information and knowledge. Not everyone knows what's being done at the European Union level. The diverging experiences between countries during the pandemic led to significant confusion about what citizens perceive was right or wrong, and this had a major impact on their own political judgment. Multi-level citizen juries can provide us with a realistic solution to overcome the lack of knowledge and lack of dialogue from a bottom-up perspective. And it shows that common and implementable solutions can be formulated by citizens with the input of experts when they are being given such an opportunity. Thinking that more citizens don't care about policies is fundamentally wrong, and this needs to be urgently addressed by policymakers.